You know, in yesterday's video, we talked about the 5 most overhyped digital nomad hotspots: Bali, Chiang Mai, Lisbon, Mexico City, Medellín. The greatest hits that every travel YouTuber seems to contractually be obligated to mention in every single video. And look, I'm not saying those places are bad. I'm just saying the gap between the Instagram version and the actual version of the day-to-day reality is getting wider each year. But here's the good news. The more I dig into this stuff, talking to people, reading forums, watching the non-sponsored content, the more I'm finding places that almost never show up on those top 10 digital nomad lists. But the people who do live there, they're not shutting up about how good it is. So today, I'm going to flip the script. Let's talk about the 5 most underrated digital nomad destinations that almost never get mentioned, but absolutely should. And remember, I'm doing this research for me too. I'm working towards living abroad, building my business remotely, having a home base in the Philippines, and slow traveling my way around Asia and beyond. So this is selfish and generous at the same time. I'm looking for places that actually work in real life, not just in the B-roll. All right, let's go. So we're going to do the first one. First one is going to be Kuala Lumpur. Almost never gets the same hype as Bangkok or Bali. You don't see it plastered across thumbnails with some guy holding a coconut on the beach. But when you actually listen to people who've spent time there, a very different picture shows up. They walk and talk about how it just works. The infrastructure's on point. Airports, they're modern. Trains are reliable. The malls, just like most Southeast Asia, is insane. The internet is fast and consistent. You're not playing, will my Zoom call, remain in the thunderstorm? The city itself seems like a really comfortable middle ground, a blend of Southeast Asia, Middle East, and a bit of Western influence all mashed together. Now, I love it because you got neighborhoods where you can eat for a few dollars a day, then walk a couple of blocks, grab a coffee in a place that looks like it belongs out of London. I loved it there. And from a lifestyle point of view, people say the same thing over and over. It's easy here. It's easy to find an apartment, easy to get around, easy to eat out, easy to hop on a cheap flight to Thailand, Vietnam, Singapore, or back to the Philippines. It's not as sexy as the algorithm says, with Bali, but if you care about running a business, having stable internet, and not wanting every single day to feel like a content shoot, Kuala Lumpur is one of those under-the-radar hubs that deserves way more attention. Next up, let's slide over to Vietnam. Well, specifically like Da Nang and Hanoi. Most people, when they think of Southeast Asia, digital nomads, they just default to Thailand. Now, but the folks who've spent time in Vietnam, they talk about it with a mix of an excitement and almost, I don't want to tell people because I don't want to keep it a secret. Now, Hanoi has this gritty historic charm. Millions of friggin' motorbikes, tiny cafes down little alley streets, food that runs your life because it tastes so good. Da Nang, on the other hand, gives you a relaxed coastal vibe. City on one side, long stretch of beach on the other, with mountains off in the distance. And across both, the same pattern is the exact same. The cost of living still extremely friendly. If you're earning in dollars, apartments are modern, food's cheap and amazing. The internet in the cities is more than strong enough for remote work. Is it perfect? Well, no. You got noise, traffic, the motorbikes, like I said, the organized chaos in Vietnam, and the visa rules are a little bit confusing. It's almost every nomad that I've listened to says the same version of, I came here for a month, I stayed for 6. Now, it doesn't have to be polished, curated, the digital nomad brand that Thailand has built up over a decade. But that's exactly why it's interesting. It's less about being seen as a nomad. It's more just about living in an energetic, affordable place that's getting your stuff done. Third on the list, Tbilisi, Georgia. Now, this one surprised me. Now, Georgia, it sits in an interesting spot between Europe and Asia. And I'm going to tell you right now, most people probably don't know where it is on the map. And, and if I mention anything, they'll just assume it's some cold, gray, ex-Soviet place. But the nomads and entrepreneurs who actually go there, they're almost annoyingly positive about it. They talk about the cozy cafes, cobblestone streets, a wine culture that's, I guess, on another level, and a cost of living that makes you double check your math. Rent, food, coffee, SIM cards, everything stretches further than anywhere in Western Europe, and you can live comfortably without your bank account slowly bleeding you out every month. And then you got, we'll call it soft factors. People describe the locals as warm and welcoming, which is big for me. Once you got to break the ice, though, there's a feeling of being in a place that isn't overrun yet. You still feel like you're discovering something, not just following a TikTok trend that's already peaked. And on top of that, Georgia has been relatively friendly to foreigners and remote workers for years. Set up a little company, base yourself there, eat good food, do your work, and enjoy that slower pace of life. It's not the first name that comes up in digital nomad conversations, but yeah, maybe it should be. So number 4, Tirana, Albania. Now, honestly, if you want a place that feels like Europe without the European prices, this one's going to keep popping up for you. I've seen more and more stories of people, especially Americans, moving to Albania. When you dig into why, I guess it makes sense. You got the capital city. It's walkable, colorful, and surprisingly modern in a lot of ways. Coffee shops are everywhere. Mountains are in the backdrop. And if you head to the coast, well, you get a Mediterranean view that looks like it should cost triple of what they should. People talk about paying rent numbers that sound like a typo. Apartments are central areas going for what some folks in the USA pay for just their car insurance. And Americans specifically, Albania is kind of wild. Now, you can stay for a much longer stretch of time than in most European countries without going through all the hoops. It's like a year. Now, it's not all perfect. Infrastructure in some areas is still catching up. There are quirks, bureaucracy. Yeah, you're not in Kansas anymore feeling. But almost every long-term expat or nomad I've heard talk about Albania says the same thing. It's not polished, but it feels real. It's affordable. It gives you a base in Europe without destroying your budget. And that, to me, is the definition of underrated. And look, I'm not planning on spending my life here. I just want to live it out a little bit. So let's go to the 5th. Let's go to Uruguay. Now, this place ain't the cheapest on the list, but when you listen to people who've chosen Uruguay, you realize they're not chasing the cheapest. They're chasing the big thing of stability. Cities like Montevideo don't get anywhere near the hype of Buenos Aires or Rio, but you hear things like safe, calm, good healthcare, good coffee, long, rambling waterfront walks. Uruguay has become one of the quiet options for people who want to work remotely. Still in Latin America, but not constantly worrying about huge swings, inflation, safety, or political chaos. Even the formal digital nomad visa is set up now, which is pretty cool if you're trying to stay longer without playing tourist visa roulette. Now, again, You're not going to Uruguay to flex on Instagram. It's not going to. You're there to live well, work in peace, and have a nice life that's steady. Now, honestly, the older I get, the more steady sounds much more attractive. So, yeah, well, everyone else is fighting over the same 5 overhyped countries. There's a whole second tier of destinations that don't trend on the YouTube or Instagram, but are quietly checking off all the boxes. And those boxes: reasonable cost of living, solid or improving visa options, well, obviously reliable internet and infrastructure, and actual culture and community, just not nomads just talking to other nomads. Places like Kuala Lumpur, Da Nang, Hanoi, Tbilisi, Tirana, Montevideo, and the rest of Uruguay. And as someone who's building businesses that I want to take abroad, I care less and less about what looks good in the thumbnail. And more about, can I actually live there? Can I actually think clearly? Can I work there? Well, can I breathe? And can I grow as a human being? So if you're watching this and you've been feeling that little tug like, man, I want a digital nomad life, but I don't want the circus, I feel these are underrated places that might be exactly what you should be looking at. Well, anyway, that's where my research has taken me so far. Now, if you want me to go deeper into any one of these cost of living breakdowns, visa options, pros, cons, you know what? Let me know in the comments which one you want, and I'll make sure we get it done. And as always, if you made it this far, thank you. I love talking about this stuff, sharing what I'm learning and doing, and hopefully helping you avoid some of the mistakes that a lot of other people are making by rushing to the wrong country and not being right in the head. So like, subscribe, and I'll see you all in the next one, where we're all peeling back the hype and talking about what's really going on out there. Take care, and I'll see you soon. Bye.